Hey guys, happy Mando Monday. Welcome to the Legacy Universe. It's me, Ash.
And John.
And today we are really excited because we are talking about the epic season finale
Ooh-ee.
for The Mandalorian season
My Jesus.
2.
My Jesus.
This episode was fantastic.
It was
Perfect.
amazing.
Even though I was expecting something else to happen with the Jedi that was, announced as the one who answered Grogu's call, I think it was effective, and the more I think about it, it makes more sense within the storyline.
It was right.
Or within the timeline.
And honestly, it is a great ending to a 16 chapter story that we had.
This episode is titled Chapter 16, The Rescue. It's directed by Peyton Reed. And this episode is what the title is. It's the rescue Grogu. Mando, Bo-Katan, Cara Dune, and Fennec. They all teamed up together to reach Moff Gideon's cruiser in order to save Grogu. And even though that's the premise of the show, a lot happens in this episode, including the fact that we do get to see who is the Jedi who answers Grogu's call. I have to say that for me,
There's so much.
there's a lot. But for me, it was a mix of how the pace was in this episode. Because,
it was nonstop. It was great.
Yeah, I felt that this episode started and they were like, we are not losing time. So I like the mix of pace with the music. I think for me, the music was epic, especially the song at the end, which is like a twist to the Mandalorian theme.
Yes.
I loved it. And I have to say that one of my favorite things was the Dark Troopers. We finally get to see like the Dark Troopers in action.
You mean the Terminators?
And John,
I was genuinely scared in this episode because of everything that's been happening.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Skywalker saga where we know where everything's gonna end up.
we have no idea.
We have no idea what's gonna happen here. Whatever character would live and would die in this one, and then we all love the characters.
Yeah.
Like the first one that we were so happy that lived was Boba Fett.
Yeah.
When he jumped into light speed after he was shooting down the TIE fighters.
Yeah.
And I was like, when he went like, boom, oh good. I was like, oh good. And then the tension between the scene of the Dark Troopers where Mando had to, seal off that blast door, and one got out. That was the most...
I was petrified because he was hitting the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
and
I was scared
I was
to
like, this guy's
crap
gonna die.
because if he didn't have that Beskar armor as thick it is, he would have.
He would have died.
You would have seen a watermelon being broken
Exactly.
in his face. Like,
But I really like the fact that Disney was not holding off. I'm getting to see a Star Wars that in my head I've always imagined it, because even though I love Star Wars, I feel that in some points it gets a little bit too campy. Like they want to keep it PG, but not really go there.
yeah, no, I love that it's not doing that anymore.
Yeah, I love. There was a couple of stormtroopers that got like squished and
I remember
effed
the
up.
episode of Boba Fett finally got his armor. He broke the stormtrooper's face off and all that. It also made sense the way he defeated it, because in my mind I was trying to figure out myself, how do we beat him? How do we beat the trooper?
Yeah.
How do we beat him? And then I was actually looking around the armor of the Dark Trooper. I was like, you gotta either burn him down or break the wires. And he started burning him.
Yeah.
And the Dark Trooper actually noticed that, that is actually affecting my circuits, or I gotta stop his flamethrower. I saw that he took out the Beskar spear. I was like, you gotta jam him in the throat or eliminate him from the bottom. And he just went boom, cut, like a Terminator. If you remember, the Terminator 2 Judgment Day, people.
My favorite
If you
one.
remember that,
My
in
favorite
the
one.
final scene, where the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is actually crawling, you saw that there were a couple moments where the police officer Terminator actually jammed a iron spear into his, I think it was feet or his arm. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of them as Terminators, so I'm looking back at this scene, and I'm like, okay, how did he got neutralized aside from just being melted. Not for nothing, but I think either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau were thinking about the Terminators when they were doing this scene.
I also have to say that I loved the team up between Cara Dune, Bo-Katan, Fennec. It was like total girl power, and I was living for it. I freaking loved every second, and I love this team. I really hope that in season 3, at some point, because again, we don't know what's going to happen.
No, we don't.
We don't know what's going to happen in season 3, but I would love for them to team up again. Mm-hmm. I also have to talk about the fact that we finally get to see who the Jedi is, guys. And it turns out that Luke Skywalker is the Jedi who answers Grogu's call. And I have to say that I was when I saw it, John knew immediately when the X-Wing
just popped in. I was like, no,
that's Luke. And then you saw Grogu go like on the screen. I was like, no, that's Luke. That's Luke.
I was gonna say that I was kind of on the fence on it, but I have to give it to Disney and Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau because it was epic the way that they did it. So I can't sit around and be like, well, this was a really bad scene because it was Luke Skywalker using his powers to the max. I do have to say that I would have liked to have seen Sebastian Stan in this role. I think that maybe there could be a possibility because I don't know if you know this, but I did hear that they are doing a series on Luke Skywalker for Disney Plus. So if that's the case,
yes.
For me, the CGI, it worked, but it was throwing me off at some point because if you guys have seen Rogue One, for example, where we have Princess Leia, it's a very brief scene that we have her. I accepted it. I accepted it as well, and because I suspended myself from everything.
Of the entire story that was building, because of the moment, because of the purpose of everything. Luke coming in, you could see how Moff Gideon was so afraid.
Oh yeah.
Of what was going on because he knew who the Dark Troopers actually were looking for. He was like,
this is the son of Darth Vader.
Yeah, bitch. And here's the thing. I was watching, shout outs to this YouTube channel. It's called Star Wars Theory. He's a great dude, and I love his content. The reason why the Dark Troopers actually looked that way is because they were sensing immediate danger. Mm-hmm. They actually sensed one of their units being destroyed. So they're like, red alert, this is an immediate danger. Yeah. Like something is happening. So when they turned around, as Moff Gideon actually was the one in charge of the Dark Troopers, he knew when he started seeing that lightsaber and that robe, he's like, it's him. Mm-hmm. The guy that destroyed the first Death Star, the second Death Star, killed the Emperor, and killed Vader. And he was afraid. He was afraid of it. Yeah. And you could see his face. And he actually, when he started shooting everybody and wanted to kill himself, because I prefer to kill myself other than, be taken by this thing. And that was why it really didn't matter if it wasn't Ezra, if it wasn't Mace Windu, all those theories that people wanted. It's canon. Something has to revolve around these characters still. And it was fantastic. It was epic. It was meant to be. Yeah. And we'll see, because we have a couple theories of what could possibly happen.
But the last thing that I want to talk about that was I think it was my biggest highlight.
Oh, I know.
Was the whole ending scene with Grogu and Din. I remember telling you that when he picks him up and he's like touching his helmet, I looked at John and I was like, he needs to take off this helmet in this moment,
because this is the last moment that
he needs to do this, because all Grogu has ever wanted was to see who Mando really is. And I have to say that I have to give it to, Pedro Pascal is like, he's killing it. Like the execution of the character per se. Yes. I loved his acting choices in this moment, because even though they're so subtle, they express so much emotion. And this is why I think that season 2 is better than season 1, because The Mandalorian received one of the best arcs I've ever seen this season. In terms of the fact that we saw the Mandalorian in season 1 as this bounty hunter. He's like, oh, I don't ride with anybody, I'm a badass. And then he meets Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, and then we see him in this season transition into, loving Grogu, becoming a father figure, starting to break his code, that he was so faithful to it. And I think that all of his arc is encompassed in that final moment with Grogu.
Mm-hmm.
When he breaks that, like, everybody saw him in the room. I have to give it to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and to Pedro Pascal for that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. I don't get tired of seeing pictures. I don't get tired of seeing, like, videos on Instagram.
Me too.
It's
memes
the best scene.
And all that.
Oh yeah, there's so many good memes. So I have to give it to everybody.
It was extremely emotional.
It was extremely emotional, and it was my highlight of the episode.
Now, from this point on, you question whether they're going to see each other again or not.
John has a theory about
I blew
this.
up after that, and I was
Yeah.
talking to Ash, and in one of my streams, there is a possibility, depending on what Disney decides to do with the saga of 7, 8, and 9, of episode 7, 8, and 9.
Yep.
Either are they going to remake it again or erase it like it happened with Jurassic Park's movies? There are a couple things that could happen. First theory is Grogu dies because when Luke was training Ben Solo, which is Kylo Ren,
Yeah.
it had to be around the same timeline, because if we think about it, it happens about 20 to 30 years, if I am not mistaken, from where we see Ben Solo become Kylo Ren. And Kylo was trained as a Jedi when he was already a young adult. At this point, I believe Kylo Ren is born. He could have been one of the children that died when Ben actually exploded and killed all the Jedi.
It's just gonna depend on season 3.
Yeah,
It's gonna depend on what they're gonna do in season 3.
and even if they don't mention it,
and how he's gonna tie it into the Ahsoka show, because
Yes.
it is in the same timeline.
yes,
And so,
yeah. The other one is that it doesn't. That, he's still alive. He was trained well enough that even probably he finished his training before those things happened.
Yeah.
And then, he's well alive, good and gone, back with Mando or on his own journey.
Because it's gonna be that choice whether Disney will erase the last 3 films that went out, or they're gonna try to add some story to redeem, which was what happened with the prequels. People were not happy with the prequels. That's why the Clone Wars was born. So I feel that this might be the case of what Disney is trying to do with The Mandalorian, because I've heard since before The Mandalorian season 2 came out that they weren't happy with the trilogy, so they want to kind of get rid of it. So I really think that it's going to depend on the shows that are coming up, because we have Ahsoka, and they announced there is a mid-credit scene in this finale, and it's the announcement of Boba Fett's show.
The Book of Boba Fett.
Which is the Book of Boba Fett. He basically goes to Jabba the Hutt's planet, and he takes over the throne.
Palace.
Yeah. He takes over the throne with Fennec. So now they're going to be a team, and I'm guessing that show is going to tie up to the Mandalorian as well. So I think what Disney is trying to pull with Star Wars, it's like a Marvel thing, and it's like you start connecting everything, and then maybe we'll get like an epic movie where everybody just shows up, and I think it's going to be freaking fantastic.
Yeah,
so
who knows?
I think this season is by far superior than the first one, and I loved every episode. I loved the last episode, but for me, I think episode 7 is still like I still feel that episode 7 is a little bit, better.
Episode 7 has,
But I think this was a perfect ending for The Mandalorian season 2. Bittersweet. I'm happy. I'm excited to see what's coming up next for Mandalorian season 3.
And for Star Wars in general.
And for Star Wars, man. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. And I'm excited to see Wonder Woman on Friday, too.
Oh,
so we can review that, because if you guys didn't know, Pedro Pascal is also in that movie, because he's freaking killing it. He's in everything now. That's gonna be all for The Mandalorian season 2. It is done. We reviewed every single episode of season 2, and that's really freaking awesome. So happy Mando Monday. Have a great week, guys. Don't forget that you can follow us on all of our social media. That's going to be linked down below in our description. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. And we will see you guys around. So,
bye, guys.
May the force be with you. This is the way. I almost ate the microphone.